Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of Tenchicast, presented by Tenchiforum.com. With me today I have a very big cast of people, and first we have Devil Becca.
Hi.
JG Zimv.
Yo, what's up?
Little Washu.
What's up?
Ryoka Fan 21.
Hello.
And Shadaloo.
Hi.
It's now 2012. A little behind on the belated New Year's greeting, but this year is important for Tenchi fans because this marks the 20th anniversary of Tenchi Muyo the anime. It's almost hard to believe it's been 2 decades of ancient demons, living ships, bounty hunters, Lighthawk War, and everyone's favorite Cabot. So, what has kept you a fan of Tenchi Muyo all these years?
It's just that it reminds you of like Star Wars sometimes with the lightsabers and that, and it's very funny. That's all.
I don't know, I guess maybe more so the people that have been into it. Like, I've been kind of the right arm of Astro Nerd Boy, who's been a time supporter of Tenchi. I got into it more so because of Duel. I saw Tenchi Muyo first on Cartoon Network, but I got into Duel more so because it had a different sort of flavor and theme to it. I don't know, maybe some of the comedy, some of the slapstick part of it, but mostly the community, I would say.
Oh, there's too many reasons. You just go back and you watch the first episode, and it's this big action scene, and the second, it's just pretty much all action, but then it opens up into this really comedy and love triangle, and it just has all these different elements. It makes it really iconic.
Yeah, I mean that's basically it. You know, it's just what it really did for me is just the whole package. You know, it's funny, it's got action. You know, it's got a lot of really hardcore supporters out there, and it's just awesome as a whole. I love everything about it.
Honestly, I'm really not sure, but you know, compared to other anime that's out there, sometimes they'll try out a new series and it tends not to be very good, and sometimes I'll compare it to Tenchi Muyo, and frankly, there's just really nothing out there like it.
I'm glad that you said that, because that is one of the very reasons that I've been a fan of Tenchi this long. You know, I think that Tenchi is one of the most unique anime ever made, you know, and there are no other anime other than, you know, Kajishima's own canon anime that come even close to it on any level. You know, it came after, you know, the late 80s of anime, which had a unique style, and yet, at the same time, it very much had a feel of what would become staple anime in the 90s. It was years ahead of its time, and it really set itself apart. But the most important thing that's really kept me as a fan is the characters. The characters are absolutely the best. Everybody here has a favorite character, and one that they really look back to, and one that they really associate with or like on some level. And I think that's why the fandom is still around to this day. Back in 2002, we got what was known as the Tenchi Muyo 10th anniversary set, and this thing was lavish. It was Region 2, meaning it was released in Japan only, but it had both English and Japanese audio, with English subtitles on the movies. It also came with a bunch of specials, and it was just extremely extravagant. It came with a gold and silver pewter paperweights of Azaki and Kamadake. It came with a really nice cloth that had Ryoko and Aika on it. Every little part of the series. It also came with bonus discs that had the live performance that the Seiyu did, and it's pretty much the ultimate collection. And you also had to be the ultimate fan as well to own one, because it retailed over here at the Right Stuff International for $1,195. Well, it's now the 20th anniversary. Do you think they should release a new set? Is a 20th anniversary set even feasible at this point? And if so, what would you like to see in it? You get the idea where I'm going with the question.
I should have a 20th anniversary edition. I mean, it's been out for 20 years. I say no reason why not, because they had a 10th anniversary. I mean, I haven't owned it or anything, but I've seen like clips and that on YouTube and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think they should have like posters, like a.
Interesting that you mentioned that, considering recent events, which maybe Washu will elaborate on a little more. But I don't know, if I was going to build an Ultimate box set that's going to cost over $1,000, which, keep in mind that that's our cost over here. I mean, even if you order off of an auction in Japan, it's going to be expensive by the time you get done with shipping fees and brokers and all the rest of it. So something that might be, somewhere it's supposed to retail at about $250, like the recent Blu-ray sets. If they're going to do an Ultimate box set, I'd like to see them put together everything Tenchi in one kit. Let's add in Universe, the OVA, the movies, dual photon El Hazard. I don't think that's unreasonable. I mean, you could maybe cut back on the extra features, but then just have maybe an Ultimate box set that has all the series in it as one chunk at a high quality recording. Maybe not Blu-rays, but high quality DVDs or something. Do something like that, or something like an audio collection, maybe, because it's really hard to find a lot of the old audio discs or some of the stuff that's been in the laser discs that never made it into later releases. So it would be good to kind of bring out some of that old content. Now, as to it being a 20-year anniversary, I don't know if it would be better to wait till it's the 25th anniversary and do something like that, though.
Oh, there's a lot of things you could throw in that'd be pretty awesome. But personally, I'd like to see more of the Blu-ray content, or at least an announcement that pushed some of like Tokyo, Universe, Pretty Sammy, the Mihoshi special. Well, no, the Mihoshi special's already Blu-ray, but just to get all this content and get it on Blu-ray discs and maybe put it in a release. I'd like to see Duel, all those go up, maybe with remastered English audio this time. I'm not really too keen on a big set like last time because I'm not sure that they'd really have much to put in it without any new content. So I'd more like to see Blu-rays come out.
I really don't know what I would like to see in the 20th anniversary set. I mean, definitely, I want to just see a whole lot more of Tenchi than just what I've already seen. Maybe some artwork or something. But maybe if they did something like what Pioneer did for the 10-year anniversary, they released the 4 individual discs for OVAs 1 and 2, and with each one came with a special coin, and had each of the 4 girls on one of them, and the one I have is Sasami. Something kind of like that, but not overly big. I agree that the big box that they released in 2002 was a little steep for over here. Over $1,000. That's fine, but it's just a little much to. Yeah, I just don't have the money for that. But still, something nice, but not over extravagant.
For the most feasible that I could see, I believe Funimation does the DVD box sets and all that stuff, correct?
For OVA 3 and GXP, yeah.
Well, I guess the most feasible would be all 3 series, the main series, as a Blu-ray set. But one thing I think they should do is release Saint Knight's Tale, since it is technically part of the Tenchi continuality. It's a very, very good series, and it's virtually unknown over here. I see very, very few sites that actually know about it. But I'd like to see that dubbed, so that way people can get interested in it, and then maybe realize, oh, hey, this is part of the Tenchi series.
In all honesty, a real 20th anniversary set would kind of be out of the question for a couple of reasons. One, because in Japan, the original series from the first OVA to Tenchi Universe, or Tenchi Forever, is owned by Geneon Universal, while GXP and OVA 3 are owned by VAP. And getting them to do a set together, well, I think would sell a lot because of its exclusivity, would have a ton of licensing issues. And on the US side of things, the original iterations of Tenchi are currently in limbo, and we may never see them get re-released. We may never see something like a 10th anniversary set over here, let alone a 20th. I'd love to see the rest of Tenchi on Blu-ray, Tenchi Universe especially, but unless there was some really ultra hidden gem episode or trailer for OVA 4, I'd be a tad hard-pressed to, I think at this point, quadruple dip on a set, as I own pretty much all of the series. And this leads me into my final question. what would really highlight Tenchi's 20th anniversary? Would you like to see the Blu-rays come to the US? Maybe see Tenchi see some kind of new sudden popularity in the anime community? Elaborate on what would really nail it for you.
Which for the listeners, Becca deferred to go last, but I think it's about time that Kajishima give up the reins to the main Tenchi series, or whichever, or at least whoever owns Tenchi in general, if that's AIC, probably, reboot Tenchi. And I don't necessarily mean reboot it into a Naruto clone or some other weird spin-off, but just reboot the core of it and do something more like a Tenchi universe again, maybe update it a little bit. You could easily do a Tenchi in the latter 2000s as you could back in Tenchi, where it started, so that a new group of fans would get into it, we'd get new content. They could start new DVDs. The old fans, what are left of us, are, still able to provide knowledge and information to new fans. I think that's the ultimate thing that needs to be done in order for Tenchi to just keep on, living as an entity. Whereas Kajishima's pretty well stated that he hasn't stated it, but he has constantly shown through his works, and even the latest doujin that came out. There's going to be a new novel that comes out here in December, or the winter Comiket period of 2012. And it keeps on going on the idea of either Saint Knight's Tale or something else. It just seems very much to me like he's either bored with the original Tenchi OVA cast, or he's going to keep taking it in directions that most of the fans aren't interested in. So it's kind of tied up. It's done. We're not super interested in a lot of the other stuff, so let's reboot it, give it some new blood, let somebody else take over for a little while and see what they can do with it.
I agree with a lot of what JGZ just said. I mean, as far as Tenchi goes, we're going to need some new content with the main cast if we're going to get it, if it's going to ever surge into the newer fans, or even bring a lot of old fans who've gone into hiding back into it. A lot of people have probably even forgotten about it, and, they'd hear new content, and they'd be like, oh yeah, Tenchi movie, I remember watching that back on Toonami in the early 2000s. So I'd like to see something new happen that maybe takes it in a different direction than where it's going. As far as the current releases, I'd like to see maybe Blu-ray stateside, but that's a stretch. Maybe even just a re-release of the DVDs, because now they're pretty expensive.
Yeah, I'm gonna reiterate a lot what JG and Little Watch you said. I'd love to see Tenchi come into new life and come into a place of its own among all the other animes that are out there today. I'd love to be able to see how many new fans they got, and then turn right around and show them, hey, if you like this, then you ought to see what came before it. This is kind of what spawned that. So, but yeah, if it does ever get rebooted, I agree with JG that it needs to be done right. This is not something that you can just rush out there. It needs to take time and effort, patience, and a lot of love put into it to redo it and redo it right.
I got kind of a long response. I actually disagree that Kajishima's bored with the main series. I think the thing that he wants to do is kind of move on past it. If you guys remember, in 2005, Kajishima released the Doshinji that had Susami spying on Tenchi doing something with Noike, if you remember. But at the end of it, you have this kid with Ryoki, and he basically says, oh, this is Kenshi, it's his half-brother, and, I want to make him into an anime series. So, a long time before the fact, we kind of knew what the spin-off was going to be. And if you look at his other Doshinjis, he's already talking about Tenchi's kids. Now, because of translations, we don't know who's who exactly, but if you also remember, there's a picture of Ryoko with one of her daughters. He wants to write a story about the daughter going to get flowers for Aika's birthday. From what it sounds like, Kajishima might want to do a series that has to do with what happens after Tenchi. It has to do with his kids. That would probably be more of a possibility, I think. Especially when you realize that he had an entire Doshinji dedicated to that. I believe it was called the 21st Century.
I agree with Shad. After Tenchi and that, but we've not like Tenchi, JXP, or Saint Knight's Tale? Like, have it, like, based through the novels and that?
I think I'm going to echo what JG and Little Washu started with. More than anything else, I'd like to see Tenchi get rebooted, because at this point, Tenchi's canon, which is the only thing being even remotely worked on, is so full of extra garbage that no one cares about, that continuing on this, like, spiderweb direction Kajishima has can really only hurt and confuse more people. More than anything, Tenchi has the potential to be a great anime in 2012. The content is there, but it's stuck in the past, because it never ended with any kind of real closure. I mean, we're still stuck looking for an end to a series that happened 20 years ago. So instead of keeping straightforward, let's see the first two OVAs get a nice new animation. With a net, now that we have a now more pronounced canon later on, it makes the barrier to entry almost non-existent, because there you won't have to worry about, oh, well, we had to retcon these things in the first two OVA to make do for the newer stuff that came out. I think it's, awesome that we can all reminisce about it, look at what we're doing right here, and I'll be the first to tell you, I'd be the last to leave that party. How about being able to associate with new fans, who now I know would be watching it for the first time? Seikishi Monogatari is proof that throwbacks are still very much welcomed in the community and garner high praise. I want to see Tenchi not in its endless rut, but in its new spotlight, like everybody here has said they'd love to see it in. And that is the Tenchicast. I want to thank everybody here for jumping in, even though I was quite a bit late. Any last words?
Yeah, me and JG, JG got the Doshinji that I ordered that may or may not have new information in it. JG, I'll let you take over and explain that, since you did some very, crude translation so far.
Basically what I did is machine translation by way of OCR ripping the text off the doujinshi after scanning it. If you go by the Tenchiforum forum and look in our translation section, you can find I've got a video there on how to do that if people listening want to try it themselves. But you can throw the stuff into like Google Translate or some of the Japanese-based translator services, and it pops out kind of disjointed. Something like a mix of gobbledygook and Yoda speak is what you end up with. And Kajishima's kind of ending words that he put at the end of the 11.12, I think is the last one, essentially said he wanted to do kind of a follow-up story if he'd had the time on Chaya's, or the redhead character that's the bodyguard for the princess, Lashara, in there, and wanted to do like a story on her parents and things along that order if he'd had the time, and he wasn't really quite happy with some of the other stuff, but it had been fun drawing the last couple of doujins. And he said that the next novel that he was going to put out would be, like I said earlier, in the winter comiquette period of 2012. Other than that, looking forward to see you later is pretty much what it said in a nutshell. It's out there, and to kind of qualify too with Shad's comment about with Tenchi continuing on with the kids and that, I think if they rebooted it, I mean, we can still have stories that go into Tenchi's kids and so forth, but I kind of feel like if Tenchi is supposedly this omnipotent kami being thing, multidimensional whatever, that sucks half a dozen different women to him, why do you really need kids anymore? None of you are really going to die or move on or any of the rest of it. You're just this being that's probably going to get recreated or reincarnated or something along the line. And if you kind of tweak that maybe with a new series, you can still have stories about his kids or something. It's just kind of, as much as the thing is fractured over the years, it kind of feels like it would be better off if it was rewritten so it all made sense and was a little clearer for the newcomers rather than having to buy 20 or 30 doujinshi.
But I think the only problem I have with a reboot is obviously a lot of us watch it because we want to see the wedding episode and such and such. And do we really want to start back at square one after, 20 years? Sure, the reboot might be good, but we might have to wait another 20 years to get some sort of conclusion, for all we know. I mean, if you look at a series like Oh My Goddess, it's still going on. And that series is as old as me.
Actually, Oh My Goddess is about to end here in the next year from all the people talking and what the author's done, but
Oh My Goddess also has a better writer than Tenchi does, so...
That I agree with.
Also on the boot, we were hoping that someone else who might budget his time a little bit better.
Yeah. Alright, well, again, thank you guys for showing up and being a part of the 20th anniversary Tenchicast.
Woo!
Alright, everybody, stay gold.